Have you ever heard of BTK, the Carr Brothers Massacre, the Clutter family, or the Poet? These are just a few well-known crimes in Kansas, but there are so many more that have been forgotten. Like my friend and neighbor, Krista Martin, who was murdered on October 1st of 1989. And so many more cases that are still sitting on the shelves waiting to be solved. Hopefully, with your help, we will be able to find the answers to these cases. Join us again at Crime Scenes Cupcakes on your streaming devices, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you might listen.
The subject of today's episode is considered by many historians to be the worst torture device ever made, striking fear in everyone from commoners to emperors alike. Going all the way back to the 6th century BCE, it's one of the oldest and most famous devices constructed specifically for torture in the world. It's been used or seen or referenced in everything from literature to movies and even video games, and it's one of the very few we actually have the name of the inventor and why it was invented. The question is, did it ever even actually exist? Of course, I'm talking about the Bull of Phalaris, otherwise known as the Brazen Bull. I'm Kevin Young.
I'm Dan Horgan.
And this is Torture. So what the fuck you been up to, man? I haven't talked to you a little bit.
Usual work thing, trying to do more music-y stuff. I started going hard and heavy with D&D writing today.
Yeah.
At one stage. Try and get the first session written, but same old.
Yeah.
You know, Alison and I just finished watching This Is Us. We binged nearly the entire TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and obviously not one sitting. It's like 6 seasons.
Yeah.
But, for anybody out there who's into any of that kind of drama stuff, it's a fantastic show. It's an unbelievable show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's too much. I think that might be too much drama for me. That's not some type of either fantasy or supernatural based.
Oh yeah, there ain't none of that in it. No. But sometimes I find it nice to switch off with stuff like that.
There's for me to get into drama like that, there's got to be some type of shtick or gimmick. I mean, I was huge into like House, which is dramatic, a lot of comedy in it, but it had a shtick. It was it was a hospital. It was a hospital procedural, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if that would be for me.
The thing that kind of sets this apart is something that I can't really say without just seeing it, because I'd ruin it on you. Like you'd have to. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean,
it does have a thing. It has a thing, but you can't say what that thing is.
Oh, okay. I don't know if
how
people.
Are you?
I don't know if people who listen to this are watching This Is Us or not. I don't know. Email us and let us know what TV shows you're watching, so we know exactly what we're talking about. I am good. I've also been doing D&D shit, but it's the D&D shit I've been doing with my kids. So any of you out there, I've recorded and edited and started to publish a D&D. Well, it's not even a D&D podcast. It's a tabletop role playing podcast. At the time, right now, we are playing D&D. That will change up at times, but it's called Tales from the Card Table. They're having a blast with it. I'm having fun, but playing games with kids is
it's a whole different experience.
Yeah, it's you play games with adults, it's like, oh, it was great. You play games with kids, you're exhausted by the time you're done. You have a good time, but holy fuck, are you tired?
Yep. Sure, me having a game with teenagers and it was just turned into them using their phones. So
See, they all have their phones, but they're playing on D&D Beyond.
yeah,
Because we're playing at one little card table. There's not enough room for everybody to have sheets out and dice and everything. It's like, all right, you're just gonna play on D&D Beyond. Got everybody hooked up to the same campaign, so you're just gonna play on that. So if they start straying from their phones, it's like, hey, fucking put it down.
yeah.
But I've been
We'll have
working
that problem
a lot
soon.
on that. Yeah, I've been working a lot on that. So if you're out there and you want a tabletop role playing game podcast that's family friendly for your kids, go check out Tales from the Card Table. I got a lot of sound effects. I got Sirenscape sound effects on there and everything. It's an experience.
And your creepy old man voice that I didn't know you could do.
Oh, I do. Like I said, I do about 90 different voices, and they all sound like the same 3.
That's always the way though. Like, it's like I've listened to myself back and I think, oh, this voice I'm doing for this guy is way different to the voice I'm doing for this guy, and then listen back and I'm like, all these people sound the same to me. So,
yeah. Well, the thing is, when I'm at work, just kind of in my own head, I'll sit there, I'll practice the different voices I can use for the different characters that I'm coming up. That, of course, they'll run into this character because they're going to play D&D exactly the way I think they should, and then they never do. But all these characters I have different voices for every single one of them. I'm driving in the car, I have a different voice for this and that, and they all sound different. And then when I sit down to record, I completely forget all of the voices I made up, and I go to the same, yeah, guys, yeah. So
that's Sylvester Stallone.
I do a Sylvester Stallone. I do like an old man. I do a really high pitched one, and I do like a Jersey accent, and that's it. It's all the same ones over and over and over again. And then I get done playing, I'm like, oh, why couldn't I remember how to do that fucking voice? But it is what it is.
Yeah, all mine automatically go British, like, because you just think high fantasies and you think English.
Yeah, why is that?
Or gruff. I don't know. See, that's the thing, though, is they tend to stick particular accents with particular races through. Mm-hmm. Probably I don't know, through some pop culture stuff. So like obviously like dwarves always seem to have Scottish accent. High elves always seem to have the really hello, kind of and then the rough guys are always like, hey, how's it going? You okay?
Yeah, like just fell out of a fucking like English pub. Yeah.
And it seems to kind of keep going like that. You never have a Welsh person. You never have a Northern Irish person.
Welsh person. I don't know if you'd be able to understand the fucking word they're saying unless you're from.
That's probably true, yeah.
From Wales.
I'm going to go down to Cloonclad and get myself some petrol. That's a Welsh accent for you.
Yeah, and then if the bad guys always have either like a real thick English accent or like Russian or German, because for some reason we automatically see them as the enemy. Because, you have to see the Russians history.
There's usually the posh English accent as well. That tends to be.
Yeah, it's never.
They're always the intellectual bad guy.
Yeah, it's never the Cockney type. It's always posh, very, my father created toothpaste and I have all this money type accent.
And I hate the world as a result of it.
Yeah.
Taking notes. New D&D bad guy. Father invents toothpaste. Angry at world because there are no more cavities.
We cured everybody's tooth, which actually I didn't even think about that. We're actually going to get into tooth disease here in the episode just for a second, so that fits.
That's a segue and a half,
isn't it?
There.
All right. Well, I don't know if people like listening to us talk about D&D or not, so I guess we'll carry on.
Half the listenership are probably like they tune out at this stage.
You know what?
Our D&D catch up.
We are doing the exact same thing I complain about with other podcasts like true crime and podcast stuff like that, where they spend the first 20 minutes of an episode chit chatting about stupid fucking bullshit. It's like, just get to the story already. But
that's it. That's not as bad though. There's a particular one I listen to, which I won't go mentioning by name right now, but there's a particular one I listen to where the primary subject matter is always the title of it, as you'd imagine, as they always are, which sounds kind of stupid, was a music related one. So you could be talking about anything at all, and then there's this one main subject, which they talk about for a whole 5 minutes.
Right.
Before that, it is literally like an hour long episode. It could be 30 to 40 minutes of them just talking about random stuff. Might not be anything to do with music. You could just be completely random stuff, and then they spend the next 20 minutes talking about music stuff, and only about 5 minutes of that is the subject matter that is in the title. So,
yeah. I feel like you could probably say the same thing about this podcast, because if we just read through everything I have for each thing, except for maybe the Robert Hansen episodes, because those were full, but for everything else, really, if I just read straight through what we have, this would be a 7-minute podcast. So we fill it with banter.
Sure, why not?
But yeah, I don't want to turn into one of those podcasts where you have to sit through an hour of two people talking about what they did in therapy this week, and before you finally get to the 5 minutes of content that you're there for. So, yeah, whatever.
Always edit it down. Let's start talking about what we ate for dinner today.
We always end up talking about food at some point anyway.
Yeah, I had partly the Irish, what we'd consider, what probably would be considered to be Poutine, as they call it in Canada.
Oh, Poutine?
Poutine. Yeah, but apparently you can't pronounce it Poutine or Poutini or something. Yeah, so I was watching a thing with Ryan Gosling when he was giving out absolute shit about people calling it Poutine. And apparently it's another way of pronouncing it or something. I've always thought of it as Poutine.
Oh yeah, that's always what we were told, it was Poutine. I will have to ask Phil. Our buddy Phil Better lives up in Canada, the podcast mogul himself. Tell us how exactly to pronounce Poutine.
The king of the cast.
He is. All right, Dan, let me take you back to ancient Greece, somewhere around 560 BCE. We'll say you're a sculptor by the name of Perilos. Now, some sources say that the emperor of Acragas, a city in modern-day Sicily, asked Perilos to construct a torture device. Others say you do it on your own and deliver it to him as a gift to show your loyalty and admiration, and to hopefully be handsomely rewarded. Regardless... Fuck, I lost my... How do you lose your place while you're looking at the word that you're saying?
I do that all the time. It's all good.
Regardless, with the help of a few, you get to work, constructing a hollow, life-size bowl out of brass. By some accounts, add a few details on the inside for some extra panache. You put a door on the side that can be locked shut from the outside and polish it up nice and shiny for the tyrant Phalaris. Now you take your creation to the city to show the emperor what you have done for him. You describe it in great detail, that you simply open the door and throw the victim or prisoner in and lock it shut. Fire is set underneath the bull's belly where the victim or prisoner sits. This can also be done before they are thrown in, completely up to the torturer, like preheating an oven, I suppose. Never want to throw the cookies in cold. Throw them in when the oven's hot. Well, because if you do that, then the cookies stick. You don't want the person to stick to the inside of the bowl. Then you got to scrape for the next God knows how many days. And I don't think they have
you want that. Yeah, you want that heat on contact like you want with a steak.
Yeah, a good sear
but with
on
a human
that.
Being, obviously.
Melts the fat down. You render that fat. Again, we end up talking about food, except these are people, and that's disturbing. And then you just wait. So once the bull heats up, the person inside will try everything to stay off the bottom. But it won't matter. The entire thing obviously just turns into one great big oven. Now you describe this to Phalaris, and his expression starts to change into one of curiosity. Then you tell him how you put pipes of different sizes and shapes inside of the bowl near the nose that will distort the sound of the person's screams into the sound of an angry bull. Quote, "His screams will come to you through the pipes as the tenderest, most pathetic, most melodious of bellowings." Possibly even put incense or herbs in the nose and mouth, so when the smoke from the burning body is released, you don't get the putrid scent of burning body. And after they are dead and the body is reduced to bones, you can wear them as jewelry.
Bones as jewelry.
That's the selling point. Is jewelry.
Oh yeah, it's I can't remember the word I'm trying to think of. There's multiple uses basically.
It is as Alton Brown from the Food Network calls it, a multitasker.
All right. You could probably heat your house with it too. It's like probably like, where the concept for the old Irish range ovens came from. You should Google one of those and have a look.
Well, I imagine that any kids you have laying around, you can just toss in there and heat it up pretty nice.
You cook the bread, stick it in the bowl next to Tommy there. He's nearly done.
I had it piping hot when I threw him in there. He shouldn't have stuck. I don't know if we ran out of cooking spray. Good. He should have been good. We were out of oil.
Today's episode is sponsored by Meter, true wireless smart thermometer.
I would love a wireless thermometer. Fucking hell.
You don't need a wireless one. You can get the ones that are wired that you can shut the door on.
I have one of those. It's which is fine. Again, food. I have one of those. It works perfectly fine, but I'm lazy and I don't want to have to get up to go look at what the temperature is on my beat thermometer. I wanted to just
so you look at your phone.
Tell me on my phone. So okay. I don't actually have to, so I can do it's like those new pebble smokers that they have out where you just put the pellet smoker, you just put the pellets in, set the temperature you want, and it automatically does it. I'm sure the food is great, but it's cheating because you're lazy and you don't want to get up and you don't want to spend 12 hours constantly monitoring the temperature manually and putting wood in and taking stuff out, making sure that smoke is the right temperature.
I always thought that was part and parcel of the entire concept of doing
that's part if you go to like
that are not 100% exactly the same.
If you go to a cooking competition, if you're in a smoke competition and you show up with a pellet smoker, they're going to tell you to go home because the whole point of it is you're supposed to do it on your own. But
I'm pretty sure if you showed up with a brazen bull, they do the same thing. So
there's probably smokers out there that look like bulls. Actually, I know there's smokers out there that look like bulls, but they're made out of cast iron, not brass. If you showed up with a brass bull, holy fuck.
And they don't have a human being sitting inside them either.
You get like briskets and pork steaks, everything, and you arrange it in the smoker to look like a person. Like those people you see who are leaving hotels, and they take all the sheets and they wrap them up like a person in a body bag and leave them on the bed and then leave just to fuck with people.
That's fantastic. And I have to say, after this segment of this episode, if people keep listening, then I wonder who has the bigger issue, us or them.
Yeah, if people keep listening. Okay, you stepped over a line this time. If that's your line, then you probably should have stopped listening a long time ago, especially when Dan compared the breast ripper to pulled pork.
Did I? Was that you? Was that me?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was you. I probably
I don't know.
I probably played
some form of food item also.
Yeah, I probably played a pain.
I think I don't know.
All right. Now, depending on what you read and from where, some say that Phalaris wanted a demonstration on if the bull actually would sound like a bull, and he asks you to get inside and show him. Others say that Phalaris just physically pushed Paralos into the bull. Others, like a painting you can find online, says that the guards did it. In any case, you are now inside the bull, and before you know what's happening, the door is locked. You hear Phalaris order his guards to build a fire to see if it really works. After a few minutes, the inside gets very fucking hot. You do everything you can not to touch the bottom. You're doing that dancing from one foot and one hand thing, just trying to, you're putting your hands on the side, trying to hold.
Cat and hot tin roof thing.
Yeah, that obviously doesn't matter. It's going to keep you from getting scalded for the first few minutes, but after a while, the entire thing is just going to be way too hot for you to handle. It doesn't matter where you're going to put your hands, you're going to burn them. So you sit in the contraption that you made. Your flesh begins to cook, and you scream in agony. And I imagine Phalaris is amused by the fact that it actually supposedly does kind of sound like a bull on the outside. But just before you can't take it anymore, just before your death comes, the door is opened and you are pulled out. So, no. Paralos did not die inside of the Brazen Bull. So
it's worse.
Yeah. However, Phalaris does take him to the top of a tall hill and throws him off, killing him that way instead.
Oh, that's awfully kind of him.
So
No.
the reason, again, this is all legend, so take it for what you will if this is actually how it happened. But the reason people say he pulled Perillus from the bull and then killed him by throwing him off of a hill instead was because he didn't want Perillus mucking up the inside of his brand new toy.
He didn't want to get out with the barbecue cleaning kit.
Yeah. I got all that cheese
all
stuck onto the brass, and you gotta find a wire brush that's not gonna scrape up the brass too much, but still get rid of all the remnant. It's a fucking bitch.
Just throw him off a cliff.
He'll just throw him off. Throw him down a hill, and all I can just imagine is him rolling down the hill like Princess Bride, going "As you wish." So he hits the end, and he's dead.
Poor man.
Phalaris will go on to use the bull, according to legend, quite often, mostly for crimes of treason, and the executions were done publicly to discourage any commoners from standing against the emperor. It was eventually used as we find in a lot of these torture devices, it was used as a form of entertainment, since the city-state of Akragas was self-ruling. Anyone who Phalaris wanted to put in it was fair game, and the crowd loved it and saw it as almost a form of theater. After the ceremony, the victims' charred bones were removed, and because they, quote, shone like jewels, spectators were allowed to take them and make them into jewelry to wear. Not just the emperor, who was completely fucked up in the story. Everybody.
Yeah. It sounds like Sicily's a bit fucked up, or what is it? How's you pronounce that again? It's where is this gone? Because I had it there a minute ago.
Akragas.
Akragas.
Yes, I'm sure I pronounced it 9 or 7 different ways before now, but yeah, Akragas.
Well, if you look at Wikipedia, there's about 15 different ways of pronouncing it.
So you know,
I say Italian is Agrigento.
Yeah, I say but I don't mean to offend anybody, but have you ever met a Sicilian? They can be a little extreme. I don't know if they're burn your body and wear your bones as jewelry extreme, but for all our friends,
probably off cliffs for making your new toys.
So what we're gonna have?
I was kind of wondering, like, sorry, it's just I was like, why in God's name? Like, obviously, like, yeah, he wants to test his new toy that he's gotten, but why throw the man who has made it for him into it when, if anything had happened to it? Surely you want the man who's after making it.
Oh, because Phalaris is a fucking nut job. That's why. He's a psycho. I'll tell you a little bit about him here in a second. But Phalaris is a complete nut job.
All right, well, I probably shouldn't have questioned his mental state and questioning his whys when he got this thing built in the first place. But
I was just going to say before that, I imagine that there's Sicilians out there. Half of them are going, hey, fuck you, to what I said. And the other ones are going, fuck yeah, we're crazy.
That sounds like the American Italian Sicilians. What are you talking about, eh?
Now, as far as Phalaris goes, you don't have to worry, because in a few years, a man named Telemachus would stage an uprising and overthrow the tyrant, cooking him in his own brazen bull, or the story goes. Again, it's fine. Phalaris was a cunt, because apparently he liked to eat newborn babies.
Huh?
Yeah. Yes, he...
Did he have like a little mini bull?
A calf?
Yeah,
a brazen calf for the newborn babies.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, this is just obviously this is all going off legend. This happened over 2,000 years ago, so take it for what you will. But stories go that Phalaris, depending on the family, would have newborn babies given to him, and he would eat them. He saw them as a delicacy because the meat was still super tender.
Why is it Rasputin has songs about him if Phalaris doesn't?
I don't know.
I
don't know, because Rasputin never actually technically killed anybody on his own.
I don't know, but he was a fucking nut job. But,
but he, that's who I want to be as Halloween. Keep looking for a Rasputin costume, because I got the hair, I got the beard, I just need the costume with the crucifix and everything. I think I can make a good Rasputin. Pretty sure Phalaris at some point will get his own episode on this show. Just so we're saying, if I can find enough information on him, because he is a fucking nightmare. So afterwards, the original bull was said to have been thrown into the sea, though a couple centuries later, the Romans would capture the city and rename it Agrigentum, now known as Agrigento. Apparently, the people of Carthage took the bull years earlier, and when the Romans defeated them, it was restored and returned to Sicily. But that won't be the last we hear of the cruelest torture device. Like in the 1st century AD, the Romans began using the bull on Christians and Jews, or the story goes. As usually happens, the Romans use torture devices on the Christians. I don't know about the Jews so much, but definitely the Christians, as the Christians will love to tell you how they were persecuted for centuries.
Oh, yeah. The foot of many a person was on the neck of the Christian.
Yes.
As ironically as well, Rome being the Catholic capital of the world now.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they were all pagans then.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah. I know I wasn't for quite a while, then that things changed. That's what I'm saying. I think it's very ironic, you know, that the way things went later for them.
Well, so over here, Christians are always talking about being persecuted, but they're the ones who persecute everybody. So I'd imagine maybe in, I don't know, a couple hundred years, the people who are being persecuted now will then persecute the next religious faction coming up, because they all kind of die off, and it's a cycle.
Richard Bacon.
Yeah.
When Jediism is going to be a properly formally recognized, and the original trilogy is going to be the Old Testament.
Did you see online somebody had posted they put 3 posters up. It was Star Wars, the newest Aladdin movie with Will Smith, and X-Men, Dark Phoenix, and they all have they're all the exact same poster. It goes from blue. The colors go from blue and they gradate over to like a yellowish beige type color, and they have the characters all in the exact same pose. And they're like, ooh, I want to know what the story behind this trilogy is. And somebody explains it perfectly, like, well, so the Grandmaster Jafar, who started magic, put the genie in the lamp, and then the lamp was brought off, and then, something like thousands of years later, when human, found it, now it was known as mutations, and everybody had these powers, and then thousands of years into the future, it became to be known as the Force, and it was. I'm doing a horrible explanation. I'll have to find it and show it to you. If I can find it, I'll post. If I find it, I'll post it on our Instagram or our Twitter. But it's fucking perfect. I was like, holy shit! This person just connected Aladdin, X-Men, and Star Wars perfectly.
Some people have too much time on their hands.
Yeah. I don't even know how the fuck I just got into that tangent. What the fuck were we talking about that got me into a tangent about movie posters?
I mentioned Star Wars.
Oh, that's right.
The religion, Jedi.
That's right.
Ism.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how our brains work.
It's a very steep slope.
That's how our brains work. I've never been diagnosed with like any type of ADD, but sometimes I wonder, because I can't keep on one subject for more than 5 minutes. Oh, fucking hell. Anyway, so yes, in the 1st century AD, the Romans began using the bull on Christians and Jews. One of the most notable among them was Saint Eustace, and the command of Emperor Hadrian. Now, General Placidus, Eustace's name before his conversion, served under Roman Emperor Trajan. Now, according to the story, which I say a lot through this, while out hunting one day, Placidus pursued a large stag. Suddenly, it turned toward him, completely still. Miraculously, there appeared a crucifix between its antlers. And from some of the stories you read, it was green and glowing.
What mushrooms had he eaten while he was on the trail?
So when you were a kid, did you have that glow-in-the-dark paint you could put on your on your walls so you could see it? I had glow-in-the-dark paint in my room that you could put on.
We had glow-in-the-dark paint, but we didn't put it on our walls. Like, you had these things that were like stickers that were like
we had those
plasticky,
too. Yeah,
glow-in-the-dark things.
Yeah, we had those too. But I imagine it was kind of like that, just kind of like somebody just kind of like painted a cross in between the stag.
I imagine it was nothing.
I agree.
Just tripping balls.
I agree.
And that's pretty much it, because I think it's very ironic. I'm not going to get into a debate about religious stuff here now or anything really, but we probably are because we tend to go on the tangents. But it's the fact that it's just very ironic how not an awful lot of these things have happened since the good book was officially released by Penguin or wherever the hell released it. So all these sudden religious things, aside from Jesus appearing in a slice of toast at one time, is they dried up fairly quickly. Mm-hmm. So
he probably ate some bad bread.
I think it seems to kind of coincide with the more we learn about drugs and their effects of them over time, like really scientifically, the less divine intervention and divine shit seems to happen.
Well, have you ever watched The Great on Hulu? It's about Catherine the Great and her uprising in Russia. Well, there's a priest that is kind of an advisor. He's like the head bishop of the Roman Orthodox Church, and he regularly goes into the woods and eats mushrooms to trip so he can see God and get direction, which I believe is pretty historically accurate. Now, anyway, the crucifixion appears between the antlers, and a voice commands Placidus and his whole family to be baptized that night by the Bishop of Rome. And also, and this would be what would kill it for me, the voice also promised that they would suffer for Christ. So I know that you're looking at a stag and there's a cross there and it's pretty cool and you should convert to Christianity. Just want you to know it's going to be really bad, but do it anyway. And the guy's just like, okay, I can do that.
Is that not their whole entire ethos though? Like, hey, come with us. We're cool. We also don't like you.
Yeah. You're going to suffer now, but then when you die, you get to heaven. Everything would be great, except for like the people who are making millions of dollars off of you from suffering, who are also going to go to heaven.
And apparently Jesus already did all the suffering for us.
I shouldn't have to suffer for Jesus.
He sacrificed himself.
So we don't have to. That's his whole shtick.
Yeah. So it literally is the USP on Catholicism is the fact that Jesus gave up his life and suffered so that we don't have to anymore, but we still have to suffer. Because he suffered for us, that we don't have to suffer anymore.
It's almost like it's a huge racket, and they just want you for your money.
It's a suffering paradox. That's what it is. It's just...
So Placidus obeyed the voice and was baptized, changing his name to Eustace, Latinized as Eustathius.
Useless.
Yeah. His wife and sons also changed their names. I'm not going to get into that because it doesn't really matter what their names were. Now, as promised, the family did begin to suffer. Through sickness and misfortune, Eustace lost much of his wealth, forcing the family to flee to Egypt. His wife was not allowed to stay aboard the departing ship and was left behind. So Eustace and his sons braved the voyage without her, eventually landing some distance from their destination. As they continued their journey on foot, they came to, and what it just says, a river. But they're going to Egypt, so it's probably like the Nile.
It's a river. I think I know what happened there.
Oh.
He found God and drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had an extremely bad drug habit and he was tripping balls the whole time. And his wife wasn't too happy about that. So he's like, I'm leaving you. Or let's go on a trip. when in fact, he was going on the trip with the kids.
Yeah.
And he got on the boat and he's like, no, you're not getting on this boat. Middle finger.
Middle fingers.
Most complicated divorce in the history of humanity. And it was all because apparently he had to suffer for God.
You know, it's probably like, hey, let's all go on a trip to Egypt, guys. And they're like, okay.
Vacation.
And they get down to the boat and they showed them their passports and they're like, oh God, I forgot my earmuffs in the fucking car. Babe, can you go get them? And she runs off and he's like, hey boys, let's go play a trick on Mom. Let's get on the boat and see if she can find us. And it takes off and she's just standing on the dock waving her arms like, you forgot me. She even jumps into the water, tries to climb up the anchor, but it doesn't work. Kind of like Lot's wife. It's like, what happened to Mom? She turned into salt. Yeah, she's not coming anywhere with us anymore. She's just salt now.
The sad part about all this is that just like Catholicism, we can't prove any of our theories are correct.
No, but ours are a lot more fun.
That was an awful lot more fun than
your
shit. So
okay,
anyway.
So with no other option available, Eustace decides to carry his boys across the river one at a time. He successfully it's like that problem that they give you in school. Well, if you have to carry one person across, and then with one boat you can only have two people in the boat at the same time. It's like, just carry both.
Oh yeah, and the fox wants to eat the chicken.
Yeah, just hike them both up on your shoulders and walk across the fucking river, dude. Anyway, he successfully delivered one boy to the far bank, and as he was halfway back across, a lion carried off the waiting son. So
convenient.
So he turned back towards the other son. He's just like, okay. And he turns back towards the other son just in time to see another animal carry him off. And he's just like, okay.
Ostrich.
Yeah, a lion and an ostrich. What
happened there?
You're in the river in Egypt. I imagine it was probably a crocodile, but
most likely.
Other versions.
The two kids were complaining though about they were complaining that their mother was gone. You see that he had taken away from their mother, and he's like, right, trying to get rid of the kids now too. I'm just gonna wait in this river and wait for an lion.
Just drown them. Just drown them. You're in a fucking river. Just dunk their heads under instead of trying to explain to people that an animal came up and picked up your son and carried him off.
Chances are that probably is what happened.
Sounds
much cooler.
Yeah, but because there are other versions that are much more boring that say his sons were just carried off by Imperial Roman soldiers. Like, there's no fun in that. Either way, in both versions, Eustace was unaware that the boys were spared death and raised in a nearby village. Unless your name is Mowgli and it's the fucking Jungle Book, there's not animals picking you up and taking you to a village to be raised by the commoners. You are ripped open and eaten, for fuck's sake.
Just imagine the kids be carried away and all you hear this is just, would be like you. But obviously in Latin.
In Latin, yeah, whatever that would be. Yeah. So here's where the story gets really, what's the proper way to say this?
Fucked up.
There you go. After 15 years of hiring himself out for work, Eustace's life changed again. A battle was imminent, either from an uprising or an invading enemy, depending on the account. Now, either Emperor Trajan or his successor, Hadrian, found Eustace, requiring his expertise as a general to lead the Roman troops to victory. And I just imagine this as one of those times in a movie where, like, the general and his underlings show up in a helicopter at a cabin in the woods to find the old man living off the grid. And, well, I don't know why we need him, General. We can handle it. He's one of the best soldiers we've ever had. And they go into his house. It's just like an old man in dirty clothes stirring broth on a wood iron stove. I'm out. I'm retired. You can't bring me back in. We don't need him. He's the best damn general we've ever had. We need you. He's like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. You get too old for this shit.
They bring him back in. Now, after the battle was won, the army stayed at a village. There, two soldiers shared their stories and realized that they were Eustace's sons. Reunited brothers came together through the army, found themselves in the village together. And their long-lost mother happened to be serving in the same house and overheard them, and she happily became reacquainted with her children. So now three of them are all together, just out of fucking nowhere.
Bullshit.
Man.
Anyway, go on.
So the three of them went to their commanding officer, who was, of course, Eustace!
Good old useless.
My God! They get permission to...
Can I ask you something real quick? Then,
go ahead.
Just to make sure I got this whole timeline.
Sure.
Thing, right, so Phallus mess the brazen bull made, kills the guy who made the bull. Then basically the Romans come in, take over the whole place. Useless fucks him out of there, gets rid of him, or Useless takes over or something like that. Useless ends up meeting a deer in the woods while he's tripping balls. Am I right so far?
So Eustace is a general in the army, and he comes across a deer with the cross, and he's all like,
he was involved in getting rid of old.
No. This was a long time. This was couple hundred years later. Yeah, no.
All right. Well,
no. Phalaris was in like the 6th century BCE. What's going on now is the first or second century AD. So there's a few hundred.
All the names in between. All right. Yeah. So that's grand. So
that's fine. Anyway, so all 4 of them are now together, a big happy family, and they go to get permission to return to their native land. Upon hearing their story, Eustace recognized that, they go to Eustace to like, hey, we want the 3 of us are a family. We found each other after all this time. We would like to go back to Rome, to our native land. And Eustace is like, holy fuck, I'm your husband and your dad. Isn't that great? Like it's a fucking Disney movie.
I like Disney movie. Or like a really poorly written like soap opera.
Yeah, not even a fucking Disney movie, like one of those like...
It's like a Spanish telenovela. That's what it's like.
Telemundo. Yeah. So as
Carlos, my long lost husband. I found you.
That Family Guy episode where they're on Telemundo and everybody that walks up to Peter, he just slaps him. Fall over. Telemundo. Now, as the soldiers dispersed to return to their homes, Eustace's family also returned to Rome. The emperor credited the gods with the army's victory and commanded the military leaders to offer sacrifices to the gods, the Roman gods. Eustace refused, and the emperor imprisoned him and his family, trying to convince them to worship the Roman gods. When it became clear the family would never obey him, the emperor sentenced them to death. Now, some accounts describe as Eustace and his family thrown to the lions first, and the beasts refused to harm them because they were Christians. Other versions omit that part and simply recount how the saint's family was burned inside the brass bull. Miraculously, they sang and praised God for 3 days before their voices fell silent, and when the bull was opened, the martyrs were found dead, but their bodies had not been physically harmed. It's like another Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego type story where Jesus was in the furnace with them. Imagine they're all in the bull, which they're going to be cramped in there because they're 4 fully grown individuals, and then Jesus just kind of appears out of nowhere, cramped. He's like,
"Yeah, hey guys."
He's all like in the fetal position, like, "Move the fuck over!" He's kicking people. Like, give me some leg room.
Don't worry, guys. I'm here to suffer for you, so you don't have to suffer again.
So today, Saint Eustace is considered the patron saint of hunters, firefighters, and anyone facing adversity. Here's something that got to me. He's also one of the patron saints of Madrid, and his emblems. So when you wear whatever it is for whatever saint it is that you want to pray to, or whatever. His emblems are either a crucifix. Okay, makes sense. A stag, again, makes sense. He saw the stag. Or, this one got me, an oven. And I just imagine someone walking around with like a bracelet or a necklace or something with just like a whirlpool stove and oven combo hanging in front. And they're just, what is that? They're just rubbing their brass range that's around their neck. Praying to the patron saint of ovens. Oh, fucking hell.
That's brilliant. Yeah, saint of ovens.
So also there was Saint Antipasto. Yeah. I was like, antipasta?
Always go back to food.
So the hero martyr Antipas, a disciple of the holy apostle John the theologian, was bishop of the church of Pergamum during the reign of the emperor Nero, who will definitely be getting his own episode. So don't worry, we will cover Nero. Now, during these times, everyone who would not sacrifice to the idols lived under the threat of either exile or execution by order of the emperor. On the island of Patmos in the Aegean Sea, the holy apostle John the theologian was imprisoned, he to whom the Lord revealed the future judgment of the world and the holy church, the whole Revelations, thing. Now, by his personal example, firm faith, and constant preaching about Christ, St. Antipas began to turn the people of Pergamum from offering sacrifices to the idols to Christianity. The pagan priest reproached the bishop for leading the people away from their ancestral gods, and they demanded that he stop preaching about Christ and offer sacrifice to the idols instead. St. Antipas calmly answered that he was not about to serve the demons that fled from him, a mere mortal. He said he worshiped the Lord Almighty, and he would continue to worship the Creator of all with his only begotten Son and Holy Spirit. And there was a big back and forth of sacrifice to our God, and no, I don't worship pagan gods, and do it anyway. They didn't care if you actually believed it, but, sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. Sacrifice works.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So the enraged pagan priest dragged Antipas to the temple of Artemis and threw him into a red-hot copper bowl. So not brass, copper.
Sorry. I drank something there and it went down the wrong way.
Have you ever breathed that it go down the wrong pipe before? Take a breath, and you're like...
Yeah, it's horrible.
The worst part about that is it goes down the wrong pipe, and then you kind of snort it up, and then all of a sudden now you're coughing for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, I have to drink something else to clear my throat.
What are you coughing
for?
For?
The problem started in the first place.
Like, why are you coughing? Water. Coughing because of water. I'm that horrible of just trying to be a human being that I can't even drink water without dying. Okay, so they threw him in a copper bowl. And this is usually where they would put the sacrifices to the idols. They'd put them in the bowl and sacrifice them in there. So they threw him in there. Now, while inside the furnace, he apparently prayed loudly to God, imploring him to receive his soul and to strengthen the faith of the Christians. It says he went to the Lord peacefully, as if he were going to sleep. Yank, yank. Christians took the body, which was apparently, again, untouched by the fire, and they buried him. He would become the saint of toothache and disease of teeth.
Antipasto?
Yeah. I don't know why.
He'd be the saint of bite-sized small portions of food served on a platter.
The patron saint of artichoke hearts or something. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
They're little rolled-up pieces of ham, little cold cuts, stuff like that. Yeah. But technically, they're not wrong though, saying that he wasn't touched by the fire.
No, like he was touched by the immense heat,
the brass. Yeah,
but I think they're saying, well, he was just dead. His body was fine, but God doesn't give. Even if God is real, He doesn't give two fucks about your body. Yeah, fuck, let him burn. I don't give a shit.
All he wants is that sweet, sweet soul.
He's eating them like newborn babies.
Oh, that's it.
So also there was Pelagia of Tarsus, who was burned for not marrying Emperor Diocletian or his son, who later committed suicide because of her refusal. Seems like a bit of an exaggeration. Like, what, well, you won't marry me, I'm going to kill myself. Fucking get over it. You're the son of an emperor.
Women, huh?
You're the son of an emperor. There's, plenty of fish in the fucking sea. It said that when she went...
It was the son that killed himself.
Yes, the emperor didn't kill himself. The son killed himself. The emperor is like, okay, fine,
then
fuck you.
I retract my my trying to be a funny sexist comment there. Emotional men can't keep our emotions in check. You should have talked to somebody. You should talk to people, men. If you're feeling emotional, feel like throwing yourself off a cliff because some person didn't want to marry you.
We're still we're shopping some advertisers. If anybody's out there, BetterHelp. If you'd like to get a hold of us and talk to about therapy for men online,
and Meter. and any form of smoker or barbecue company at this stage.
We range in variety. I mean, we have a big window of advertisers that could come in. Quip also, because we just talked about tooth decay.
Yeah, well, actually, anything to do with sharp objects, really.
Yeah,
or rusted objects that used to be sharp.
Bespoke posts, they send out knives to people in their boxes. We covered it. I mean, we're leaving our options open with all the stuff we're talking about. Apparently, when she was sent to the bull, she had the sign of the cross, stepped inside, and her flesh actually did melt off her bones, but it filled the entire city with the fragrance of myrrh, apparently. Myrrh apparently smells like shit.
Right, I didn't realize. I thought that was meant to be as if it was supposed to be a pleasant smell.
Well, that's what they're trying to make it off of. But I can't imagine that her body roasting inside of a burnt body with all its hair and shit is not going to smell very good coming out of fucking.
The one thing I'm getting from this is the men's bodies aren't being destroyed; the women's now are.
Maybe seems that way.
Because
almost
because obviously, they're the lesser sex apparently, and all that.
So a little bit of misogyny written into these texts.
A bit of history, yeah. Oh, who'd have thunk it, huh?
And in the Consularia Caesar Augustana, it says that Bordulinus, or Bordunalus, which I guess actually means little donkey in Italian. I don't know. A Roman usurper. He was abandoned by his followers in the late 5th century AD and sent to Tolosa, a French city now known as Toulouse, where he was burned in the bull. So, now there are those, mostly Catholics and Christian historians, that claim that not only did none of these people die inside of the bull, but that the bulls never even existed, that it was created centuries after those stories for propaganda reasons, and that no one was ever actually killed or tortured inside. So it's another one of those which you're going to see a lot of where, yeah, you can go see it. Yeah, they exist now. They probably didn't exist then. They might have existed, but they were never used. There are a lot of stories about how they were used. There's a lot of stories about how they were used, but there's no technical proof. So take it for what you will. I think it's fun to think of these horrible people being
classic. I think it's classic Catholic. So it is. Hey, this thing that has documented proof doesn't exist, but hey, look at this book right here, people.
If you like things that probably don't exist, who do I have a story for you? Oh fuck! That's really. I looked for more shit, but really, this thing was stopped being used about 1,400 years ago, if it was ever used. So there's not a whole lot of new information coming out about the Brazen Bull that we didn't know of. Pretty much everything that's out there is out there. So, were you able to find? Go ahead.
Sorry. No. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. I was just
going to say it seemed to be similar to any of these methods that seem to be a bit more on the showy side. I remember what we discussed with one of the other methods where it was the
head crusher.
The head crusher, yeah. We're saying that the simplicity of that made me believe more of it being real than I would this, in the sense of I believe that this was probably real and more for show and threat maybe than anything, in the sense, because it was just it seemed a bit too complicated for what they wanted to do.
Seems like it's something that you could just
simple, like hanging somebody, or
Well, they would hang people. They would have them hanging outside of town, or they put heads on spikes as a warning. It seems like if you had a giant brass bull, you could literally just put it in front of your castle or your keep or whatever, and be like, "Hey, see that thing? Do what I tell you to do, or we're gonna get cooking."
Exactly, and one thing I noticed as well is they like to be able to see what is happening, because it's usually a public thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They like to see what's happening to people.
Yeah.
You can't see what's happening to people in there, because obviously Jesus is getting in and covering everybody with a cuddle blanket and saving them. And so they can't see that. Well, so they had to just stuck them on a spike and lit them on fire, then they wouldn't have ever.
Just Jesus crammed inside a Brazen Bull goes, "Here's your Snuggie. Here's a Snuggie for you. Here's a Snuggie for you." Just Christmas presents. Ooh, open them. Everybody gets presents on my birthday. Here, open them up and see what you get. And everybody just opens up weighted fucking blankets.
Yep.
Is this a My Pillow? I hear he's a Nazi.
But, yeah, but like, that's kind of what I meant, though. You know, that's where it's kind of going with that. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
To the same extent.
Probably one of the reasons Iron Maiden was that you could see it was never actually used, because you could actually see. The only thing you could, though, with the Iron Maiden, you might be able to see some blood come out. And again, with the Brazen Bull, you get to hear the noise and the smoke and the smells. And you get jewelry afterwards, as long as you don't mind doing a little arts and crafts afterward, when you're all done.
Actually, I forgot about that. Yeah. Ooh.
Which do you go for like the femur, which is hard as concrete and it'd be really hard to scrape down into something? I mean, you can make a cane out of it maybe. Or do you go for like the little wrist bones for like earrings and shit? I guess it depends on what you're in the market for. The knuckles.
It depends on how hot they got as well, because they could be gone. Apparently if they're coming out that shiny, then they've been cooked up that much that they've...
Yeah, I guess the bigger bones probably all be broken down to just shards. People making knives and shit out of them, maybe. Yeah. All right. And were you able to find any pop culture references? I got a few if you don't have any.
I found the obvious Brazen Bull movie one.
There's a movie?
There's a movie, yeah. I think it's... one Mr. Michelson that's in this, is it? Give me a second now. Yeah, sure. Michael Madsen. I said Michelson by accident. Michael Madsen's in it.
Really?
Yeah, hold on a second. Where's this gone now? I had the synopsis written up here. It's a nice cold tale of misguided ambition and savage revenge set in the bells of an iconic, apparently, derelict Los Angeles high rise. And I'm not going to read any more than that because it sounds absolutely shit. It 3.6 out of 10.
Oh wow!
So that means it's probably a masterpiece for a Michael Madsen movie. It's probably really good. And I found a song.
Yeah, you were saying something about that.
Josephina Dusk called
I don't know.
Brazen Bull. It ain't my cup of tea. Kind of weird.
You got to read some of the lyrics so everybody knows what they're getting themselves into. I can't find a copy
of the lyrics. That's the problem. Because she doesn't have them up like in the same.
It's one of those.
Maybe I do. Oh, that's for a different song. Oh yeah, here we go. I don't know if this is heaven or hell. The screams are beautiful. My bones are jewels and bracelets that last fruits of Gethsemane, whatever the hell that is.
Okay.
Will I break when I watch you from afar? Will I weep? Will I scream? Will it scar? There's just something right there. So shows you a little bit of but fools wait for wishes still, so we dance to the Brazen Bull and a load of other stuff. But
that's dark. That's dark as shit.
It sounds like
the Brazen Bull.
Yeah, I listened to a few seconds and it sounded like what's that girl who's really popular right now? Singer, one that mumbles.
I have no fucking clue. I don't listen to pop anything.
Or somebody's going to be sitting there listening to this screaming at the thing.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's going to know exactly who I'm talking about.
Is it Doja Cat? Doja Cat?
No, it's not Doja Cat. I'm going to on my popular female singers 2022. She did the song, the James Bond song.
Okay. There's Adele. No, she doesn't mumble. Oh, Billie Eilish.
That's the one. She's that.
Okay.
That's
yeah. My youngest son is a huge.
That sounds like that
huge fucking fan.
Ish style. I'm gonna be honest. I never really listened to any stuff beyond the few things, and I just.
Yeah, the couple things that come up on the radio. I listen. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan, but it's it's whatever. Everybody has their own.
Well,
thing.
That's it exactly. Yeah, I don't expect everybody to like Slipknot and. Or me.
Well, they should.
Yeah, they should like me. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Well, what I was able to find, pulp culture, literature like The Name of the Rose, Kurt Vonnegut's Breakfast Champions, the manga, Though You May Burn to Ash, which is fucking metal as shit, Library at Mount Char, movies like, apparently it was in Saw 3D.
Oh, really?
2011's Immortals.
I never saw that. I'd say.
It's odd. I enjoyed it because I went into it knowing what I was going into.
Yeah.
Movies like that, you got to know Like, all right, I'm not going to go into this seeing fucking Goodfellas or Casino or something. This is going to be tits and fighting and, just good time. Apparently, he was also in 2011's Red Riding Hood.
I haven't seen that either.
I don't think I saw that one. It was also video games like Assassin's Creed Origin, Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and Criminal Case. And the TV show, an old favorite of mine, which lied to you most of the time, 1,000 Ways to Die. Did you ever watch 1,000 Ways to Die on the old Spike TV?
Know if I have.
That might have been just an American. That might have been strictly an American thing.
It's funny because there's an Irish 1,000 Ways to Die. There's an Irish TV show. I think it's called. I know I thought it was a play, and that's not a mistake. I just think it's kind of like 1,000 Ways to Kill Your Mammy or something like that, or 50 Ways to Kill Your Mammy. It's about this Irish, air quotes, comedian guy who he brings his mother and all these crazy different things like skydiving and all this stuff. But I recognize the thing from Saw 3D. That I googled the picture of it.
Oh yeah,
yeah, definitely recognize that. But
1,000 Ways to Die was a show where they literally gave you each episode. They gave you like 2 or 3 different ways that a person could die. And for a lot of it, you're like, oh shit, this stuff could actually have that kind of actually happen. And then there's one of them that is when I stopped watching. It was a guy was out flying his like model airplane, and he threw it, and it kind of came around, did a big loop-de-loo, and then went and then stabbed him in the back through his torso, and he's just like, ah! And I was like, that didn't fucking happen. Fuck off.
oh, that's just
I've watched dozens of YouTube videos of people getting hit in the head by their own fucking model airplanes. None of them died, all right? Especially hits you right in the center of the spine. It's going to crack through your spine, go through all your organs, come out the other side. Fuck you. Anyway, hint for the next episode is, and it took me a while to come up with this, a word that means the exact opposite of what it meant a few hundred years ago. I know it doesn't make any sense, but it will when we get there.
I'm trying to
on
think.
The next episode. Yeah.
What could it be? There's a couple of words I'm trying to think of.
Well, while you contemplate, way to get a hold of us, you can get us on Twitter and Instagram, both at TorturePod. You can get email, torturepod@gmail.com. Go check out my podcast with my kids. It makes them really excited when they see people are actually listening. Tables from the Card Table, if you don't mind. And Dan will be having something come out, Dungeons and Dragons, at some point. You, me, and a few other people. We got a whole bunch of shit going on that, and you're gonna have eventually, hopefully, get your music stuff up.
Hopefully, when I have time.
Yeah.
I tell you what could happen. You see, is if people keep subscribing to this and keep listening to this, and we can make money from it, then I can take the time to produce more things.
Yes. That is obvious. I mean, I think that's the goal of every podcaster, is to eventually make enough money off of it to where they can, do it more and do other things less than what they actually have to do. Does it happen for 99% of podcasts? No, it does not.
No,
but,
well, look, if we can get to the stage where we get invited to join Phil Better on this entrepreneurial shit podcast, where it's all about people who make a living from it, then we'll know we fucking made it. You hear that, Phil? You hear that, Phil?
Award-winning podcast mobile, Phil Better.
Yeah. He will be the father to my babies.
He's gonna be sitting there going, he's gonna be like, why are they making fun of me?
Or not, we love you, Phil.
We love you, Phil.
Yeah.
We love you, Phil.
We won't be on your podcast. We won't get that official invite when we know we've made it.
He keeps posting, asking if anybody wants to come on. And it's like, I haven't made really any money doing podcasts, so I can't go on yet.
Yeah.
We have to make some money.
Hey, look,
I made a very small amount of money on a podcast before. Very small amount. For the year we did it, I think I made like $90.
We do a Patreon. You send me $5, I'll send you $5. If I make money after taxes,
we're professionals now.
Yeah.
I do plan on setting up Patreon. I've been looking at a lot of different t-shirts designs that I want to do. If you're out there, email us, message us, let us know if we start a Patreon, what you would like to get from it. Obviously, unedited episodes, so you can hear all the silly bullshit that I actually cut out of these episodes, because it's quite a bit.
Yeah, I sometimes I'm shocked how much is left in as well.
Yeah. Merch. Like I said, I'm going to start making T-shirts. No tomatoes in full Irish, all that type of stuff. Maybe a side podcast where we just sit down and talk. The difference between American and Irish food and a little bit of torture. That type of stuff. So we stopped talking about food so much on the actual show.
Well, sure, I was going to say we were talking before about sending each other kind of care package type things, and that might be kind of a cool thing to kind of talk about the things that are in it on something.
I was thinking about that. So like you send me one, I send you one, and then we sit down, like we pick whatever, like a bag of chips that you send me and a bag of chips I send you, and then we each have one of each. And we try them on here at the same time, and we talk about how different they are.
Kind of like the Food Wars thing, but
something, yeah. Be like,
more swearing.
Oh, this is good. Oh, this is shit.
Yeah. It sounds good to me.
But so let us know if there's anything you would like to see on a Patreon, like a Discord or something that people can get on and talk. They could tell they could talk to us every once in a while, and stuff like that.
Guess what I'm after doing? I have begun research for me to do your job on one of the episodes like we discussed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, I started looking at it today. It was something that we mentioned briefly before, and being honest with you, it could branch out into something even bigger. Probably end up, if like realistically, there's just so much information. I was like going through like link after link after link after link, kind of following all these different things. And I was like, holy crap, because it's so, I'll say modern, there's an awful lot of documentation around it.
Yeah, I know it, and I know what you're talking about. And I know you went one way. I'm sure you're going one way with it, where you're looking at where it started.
Turns out I was wrong.
Over there by you. Huh?
I was wrong. Turns out.
Oh, really?
Yes, I found out the most likely thing for it, so but I'll cover that.
But anyway, I'm sure you were where you had said that it had started over by you and kind of went this way and that way, and I kind of go the other way with it. I look at where you said it started, and I kind of come backwards with it to see, well, what else happened before that. And I actually found, and people are like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
I think if you listen to the show, you probably know that what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's actually, and it'll be in a wide circle of things. And if we got to make that specific, that specific subject, and it has to do a 2 or 3 episode one on it, just so we get everything fit in there, I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I've told you that. I told you that we're going to have a bunch of episodes that end up turning into series. We got a series coming up on a cult here not too long, and then another person will probably end up doing a series on him, a 2-parter, not true crime, a historical figure.
Feel better.
So we, yeah. Today we cover the podcast mogul, Phil Better. This is torture.
Poor Phil.
Phil's just got everybody like tied down. He's like yelling at them the proper way of how to pronounce Poutine. And
here's how you follow fucking podcast analytics, assholes.
This is how you make money off a podcast. SEOs, goddammit.
God, if it wasn't working,
we love you,
so
Phil.
tempted to text him right now and to say, "Hey, we're talking about you on our podcast." He'd be like, "Oh, good. I hope." Tune in.
Just the emoji face guy with the finger up to them.
What we'll have to do now is, I don't know if he's managed to listen to any of the episodes yet, so we'll have to tell him we talk about them during one of the episodes, and he'll ask which one, and I'd say all of them, or maybe none of them. You have to listen to find out, Phil.
No, he says, which one did you talk about me in? And you just send him a little picture of Where's Waldo. He's got to go searching for it. Listen, if you're out there listening, go find Phil Better's podcast. Invest in yourself, Phil Better Show, all that shit. Yeah, look him up. Yeah, he does fantastic work. He helps people out. We love Phil, so. We're giving him shit because that's what you do with people you love. You give them shit. So, yeah, love you, Phil. All right. Well, I think that's all I got for. I think I believed you called it when I messaged you about what we were covering the original Easy Bake Oven.
Yeah. That's what I refer to as.
So that's
the
what.
original Easy Bake.
So that's what
the episode's going to have to be called that. It's a shame they didn't hook up a little bing. I think when it was finished.
A little turkey timer.
John's finished. Better get him out of there.
Jesus Christ is in there too. All right, guys. We'll talk to you next time. See you.
Bye-bye.